Creative Mornings is a breakfast lecture series for the creative community. We're the Las Vegas chapter.
When they asked me to come speak, I knew that my story had some kind of interesting value to people over 7 years in my studio. And so as I lead up to this moment of my life today, I think about all the moments that have happened from this one particular moment, and I'll start there with my story. And overall, when you hear my story, it'll be, what I'm telling you about language is, I have a new language, and it's really just an artist's language, and that's all it is. And it's very simple, and it's based in truth. So I was a casino worker, working for Harrah's. I eventually worked for Harrah's for 13 years. Started in the kitchen at 19. At 21, I went into the race and sports book, because sports was everything in my life. Growing up with my little brother, that's how I stayed out of trouble. So one day, on my day off, I'm visiting the Strip. I believe it was 1995. And Steve Wynn was starting to build the Wynn Hotel, but the first thing he did was build a gallery in front of the property. And you know, he has a $1 billion collection or so, I guess. And I never really paid attention to art. Of course, I knew Picasso's name and Van Gogh. But that day when I walked in that gallery, just to waste some time, look at some great art that they say is great, maybe I'll never have a chance to look at it again. It's part of the Wynn collection. And so I pay my $12 or so to go in there, and I walk up and down the gallery. It's like a long rectangular space. And I walk up and down, look at these names, Gauguin, Van Gogh, Matisse. I knew these names, I've heard these names, but I didn't know the art. And then, as I come back to the Picasso at the beginning of the gallery. And as I'm standing there, 5 feet from this Picasso, never caring about art at that moment, to that moment, it stimulated my eyes so much that it made me want to paint. But my life was a casino worker, hanging out with my buddies, you know, all that surface kind of living young guys do in their 20s. With no idea, as I stand here today, that this would be my life. That moment I was standing looking at the Picasso. But that was the monumental moment for me that led me to this moment of my life and all that has happened for me as an artist. So I think about painting for a year, but I continue to work in the casino, hang out with my friends, and party and all that stuff. And then in 1996, in November, I got a kidney transplant, which I had been waiting for 7.5 years. And that's due to being born with 20% of one kidney. Now, that's the lessons that I've been learning my whole life about life, death, the mortality of a human. So I get the transplant. I know my life is going to change. I want it to change from what it was. It wasn't too bad. It was just a little bit chaotic in no direction. So I start painting in my room with oils on canvas, mixing colors together. And when I started painting, I automatically had a color palette in my head. I didn't have to study color. I can't pass a written test about color theory. But I know when I'm painting, I know what colors go together. And I learned that from sports. The jerseys, the helmets, the sport colors of different teams and leagues. That's how I learned color. It was right there when I started painting. So 5 years, I'm in my room when I didn't have a party to go to, a girl to hang out with, a buddy to hang out with. I'm painting these oils. The early oils were landscapes. I read a couple of Bob Ross books to learn how to paint a tree and a rock and water. And I used oils because they stayed wet over a period of time, and I had no ideas of what I wanted to paint. So it was easy for me to keep going back and mixing these paints and moving them around as they stayed wet for 3 or 4 days. And then, you know, that casino life caught me. 5 years into painting in my room, casino life caught me. The partying, the alcoholism, my mom, my dad, the family, all that. So when I hit rock bottom around 2000, what happened was I lost my job in '98. I had that job for 13 years. That was leading me towards rock bottom. My car got repoed probably a couple more years after that. I was really pretty much rock bottom. And then I had a DUI in '98 when I was healthy and the kidney was great and all that. And he was chasing me around for 3 years. And finally, in 2001, in May, the judge said, bang, contempt of court. 25 days right now downtown in Clark County. That was rock bottom for me. Going to dialysis in a jumpsuit, in shackles, that was rock bottom. I'm thinking my life is over. I'm thinking I would never recover from this bottom of my life. And so while I'm in jail, I can see these guys in there and they are comfortable. They know the guards' names, they know the routines. And in my head, I'm thinking to myself, take your pick, Alex. Make a choice, man. You could have this life, or you don't have to have this life, man, but you're faced with them choices right now. So in jail, I had this epiphany, and for me, it was God talking to me. And it said, you're an artist, it's not that bad. And I did not consider myself an artist. I was painting pictures in my room, maybe giving them to my sister at that time. And so this epiphany comes through my head, and I had nowhere else to go. So I in jail for the 25 days, I could get gray envelopes, I could get 6 color pencils, I could get a flare marker. And for a month, I did this pointillism that I had learned in 11th grade. And it kept me sane, it passed the time, it made me cool to all the other dudes, so they would, you know, kind of leave me alone. I got out of jail. I cleaned up illegal in first scene. That was just weighing on me heavy. The next thing I did was come out to the Arts Factory, to the CAC, if you guys know, they just reopened it. And I started Gallery City, anonymously. Nobody cared to hear anything about my name or know my name or anything. And I just learned. I paid attention to about 4 or 5 artists in the district. It was Dre, it was Miguel Rodriguez, it was Katie Matheson, it was Joe Watson, and Jennifer Maine. And I watched them. They were the ones getting attention, they were the ones selling their art, they were doing it. And I learned. It was my art education, sitting 1 day a week and for 4 hours, meeting some of you maybe, a lot of people that I know now. And for me, that was the beginning of my public art life. This life that when you come to my studio and find me there, that was the exact moment that started. And so I started showing it first Friday in 2002 in December. I started showing at the Red Rooster Antique Mall that's by Wholesome Loss. And for a year I would take down some ladies' art or antiques and all that and put my art up. And there, I don't know, maybe about 5 people that came first Friday there. But I was learning how to talk about my art, how to show my art, how to hang my art, how to put tags on my art, all that stuff. And then a year later, I was invited to show in front of Cindy Falcone's antique store. And I did that until 2008, October. And that's when my uncle had commissioned me to do my first pointillism piece, big piece. And with that money, I opened up, well, I had heard there's a studio upstairs at the Arts Factory. And, you know, money for me has always been, of course, pay the bills and get to the next week or the next month or whatever. But I knew I was going to spend that money that he gave me. It was a big chunk of money for me. And so I decided to spend it on that studio and see if my creativity level can rise. Because I had hit a plateau at home for 10 years. So I opened Peace and Art Studio in October of 2008. Only to expand my creativity, not to find my purpose, not to connect to it. Many people that I see here today and many more. Not to become a community member. I didn't open it for that. I didn't. All the things that have happened for me since I've opened my studio are always a sign for me from that first day when I was standing at the Picasso. In my head, this is what I picture every time that moment, standing in front of the Picasso. I'm standing there looking, and for me, it's when God tapped me on the shoulder and he said, Alex, I no longer need you to use your life this way. I now need you to use your life this way. And so, as these experiences happen for me and the experiences get greater, and I learned all that I learned, First Friday was really a great learning experience for an artist, for this artist. I learned how to communicate out there, and I learned my artist language out there. And then when I came into the studio, God told me, after a while of letting it develop, that this is your church. This is your podium for now. Years back when I came out and I saw these artists getting attention and I started seeing, oh, fame and fortune happens for artists. I had this talk with God in my room before anybody knew my name or before I ever showed my art. And I thought to myself, God, I get that fame and fortune might happen because I create art. That's cool. But I understand why. And the notoriety that happens for me now is simply only this. It's for a bigger stage that God's going to give me so I can tell this story that you hear today, so I can inspire that one person, that group of people. Because when those darkest days were with me and I didn't think I would be standing here in front of you beautiful people, I didn't think it was going to be okay. I didn't think it would ever be okay. Simply okay, let alone be fulfilled and overflowing in fulfillment now. So this message that I have is basic. It really is about the human experience and how it's going to be okay. And I can share with you how I participated in my own life to make it okay and to make it fulfilling. You know, I have a painting in my room, and it's called The Search for Happy. And as a little boy, I was taught from the TV of what I was supposed to be as a man. And it led to me being an alcoholic, and, you know, I gotta get the job, get the car, get the girl, get the kids, have the life, and you'll be happy and complete and all that. So I tried for that, crossed the bar, I saw her 100 times the one. And so, what I come to find out is this search for happy is what they want us to search for. Happy only comes in moments, comes from lots of things. A hot cup of coffee, sex, guns, movie, cake, name it, shoes, wardrobe. Happy comes in moments. But happy gets interrupted. It gets interrupted by real life. The tragedies of our life, the ills of our world. Happy is not constant. But what is constant, and it's on the other side of happy, is fulfillment. I searched for happy. I kept searching, and on the other side of this happy, I found truth. The truth of who I am, what I am, how I was created, how unique I am, my flaws. That's what I found on the other side of happy. So once I found the truth, that's a bell that cannot be unrung. It can be ignored, but it can't be unrung. And so once I got on that path of truth, and I saw what a reward it was for me internally, just by myself, let alone what it's attracted to my life. Now, happy, truth, led to fulfillment. this human fulfillment that we all search for or have searched for. This is an inner peace, an inner center, an inner balance that I found in the darkness, in the reworking of the thought process of what had happened for the first 30 years of my life. And without this balance, this center, this love, this self-love is what I had to learn. Without this, nothing else would have happened to allow me to know you, to share with you, to find my path in life, which is sure is, it's artist, but it's so much more than that for me. It's the connectedness to this universe. I was raised with a Catholic mom. She told me that God made the sky blue and the trees green, so I, of course, believed that. In those darkest days, when everything I had done to that point and tried got me to the darkest days, I had a brother. I had a brother who since passed, but he had always told me, Alex, God never gives up on you. And I certainly had thought, you know, I sabotaged that kidney that a cadaver had lost their life to give me. I had sabotaged myself into the darkness, into a corner, isolated myself from 6 brothers and sisters and many friends. And this thought of God not giving up on me, I sarcastically tested in 3-day period. And for my life, answers came back directly to my life those 3 days. And that's how my belief went to trust that my Creator had me alive just one more day, if just one more day. So as that engulfed me also, this trust in this great big universe of the whys and the whats and the answers that I didn't know, but I trusted, of the whys that had happened, the losing a father at 13, the losing my mother at 21, the medical battle I battled my whole life. So I've been on dialysis since this time. It started in 1989. It went 7 years. I got a 4-year reprieve with the kidney. About 2000, I went back on dialysis. It's been 15 years of dialysis, 3 days a week. The first 7 years, dialysis was huge. It was bigger than anything in my life. It was bigger than my life. Now, it's that big. It just doesn't play that big of a role in my head. It is the joy of my life. It is the fountain of youth I got to go to 3 days a week to get me to this great life that God blessed me with. It's such a automatic thing for me now. It's what I want to go do so I can come and get to this great life that I've been blessed with, of artist and community member and conduit for many people, not only to peace and serenity and balance, but a conduit from you to you and you to you. And so I've learned this language that I speak today of artists with a lot of practice of talking to people without any fear of judgment, without trying to perform for any humans anymore. And what this self-love that I learned taught me through art is that I no longer need. I don't need. There might be a few things I want, and even when I don't get those, I know they're not meant for my life. Meant to be. I know what's meant to be. I know what's not meant to be. Today is just another day. It's the only day of my life now. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow might not get here. And so I'm always in the moment, like I have been here speaking for I don't know how long now. And that's where I best live my life, to find this truth and live this truth. We always hear the truth will set you free, and I live that. I live that. And I know that to be one of the most factual statements for this human experience. Like they say, I'll take those who want to go for a tour after this. But I guess we can open it up now for questions and answers. And if anybody has any questions, I'll feel free to ask.
I like what you said about okay is okay. So do you think that with language, do you think people just expect to be either sad or euphoric? And you're just saying that okay, status quo is sometimes good?
No, I'm saying that we all search for it to be okay. And okay is many things. Let's use the word happy instead of okay. We want it to be happy life. We want it to be fulfilled. But happy is what we're taught. And so we search for this happy. And then happy goes away. But when you have fulfillment, you can be sad and still have your fulfillment of this human experience.
And I like what you said about moments too, about happy moments, so just really relishing those, like the cup of coffee. And
yeah, and what the search should be is what I'm saying about happy is the search shouldn't be for happy. The search should be for fulfillment. Fulfillment of this human experience. You know, you felt it before in your lives, and I bet most of you have felt it when you give. When you give of yourself and of your time to other fellow humans. That's when you feel it most, this fulfillment. Now, if you continue a pattern of doing those things, it'll be a continuous feeling of fulfillment. That's what has happened for me. I no longer let people take me off of my path. Because there's no fulfillment. Authentic fulfillment is my intention every day for me. Let alone how I share it with people. That's God's purpose for me in my life. But it's that search for fulfillment. When you think happy, know that it's a moment of happy. But the intention is for fulfillment, which allows you to handle this life experience without failing at this life experience.
Sam, thank you for just being truthful to who you are and finding yourself, because by you giving yourself, you know, you helped me find who I am as a person and to establish myself as an artist. You were the first artist that I've met in my life that was like creating in a studio, and like, just thank you for finding your truth and for making that decision long ago to like get the studio instead of like spending all your money. Like, it's so crazy that, you know, that it's led you down this amazing journey. It's cool to see you evolve too and change.
You are certainly one of the direct evidence of what God did in my life. You are a continuation of that blessing. Savannah is a young girl that came to my studio maybe 3 years ago. She was from somewhere in Pennsylvania, a small town, and you know, she survived her childhood like many of us do. And she came in one day and I chatted with her with the truth of what I was as an artist, and now she's a self-sustaining human in this world without being scared. She makes her way through art and art modeling in California now. And every time I chat with this young girl and see the growth in her, I'm reminded of my purpose. Oh.
As I watched all of your artwork and seen your many different styles, you've always used language. Everything from in the signs you use in your black and whites to this current radiant series. And I guess my one question would be, through all your language, is there one specific message that, even in the diversity of what you create, that you're giving to all of us, even in the different ways?
Yeah. The basic message that I give is Bring the love back to who you are. When you ever been with a child, a baby, these babies are nothing but a bundle of love. That's all they know. And as we grow, in the environments we grow, with the people around us, and those influences, that love gets pushed further and further and further and further away. We get all this stuff stacked in between it. So what I've done is cleared all that out as much as I can. Lots of stuff that was not needed. And I bring that love closer and closer and closer to me with every action and every decision and every choice. At least I try to. And that is my message. That is my message. That self-love is the key to everything that you want in your life. And that is the message. The joy you come and find in my studio, or the warmth you feel from my words, or a simple chat with me, that is the message from me. Human communication is the easiest thing when you live with truth. You don't perform with your words, your actions, and you just give them who you are without trying to get something from them, and they get to go on from that moment. And it matters not to me what happens after that moment. They will feel something, they won't feel something. They'll let me know, they won't let me know. You know, I'll tell you this quick story. In my studio, you know, the jail's right down the street. So many people from jail come and find their way to the arts factory and, you know, trying to just see something different, I imagine. So I have many talks with these youngsters and not youngsters. But there was one girl that came through. This was probably 2 years ago. She was about 25. She tells me this story how she had been in jail for 9 months. She was hooked on heroin. She was straightening out her life. So I tell this story that you guys heard today with this girl one-on-one. She goes away. About 8 months later, it seems, she comes back into my room. She tells me this: I'm back in trouble again. My mom's going to help me turn myself in tomorrow to my parole officer. But I had to come back and hear your words one more time before I turn myself in. So I chat with her some more about life, and about choices, decisions, and love, and self-love, and all that. And she goes away. And I don't know how it turned out. But I trust from her reaction to my words the first time and then the second time that is the purpose. That is a pure, authentic moment for me of my human experience, of how God told me. It's just simple. Just share the story. Let it help when it helps. I'll be the conduit of who it helps and what it helps. And just live this truth. And every day add on to the story and the truth. And share it when I send people your way. It's simply what I do. It's simply what I do. Any more questions? Tom?
About a year ago, I was working in the arts factory right outside your studio. And I noticed that you were really into your self-space. And I don't like to bother people that are into their self-space. So I was working on the corner gallery door. She had hired me to do the lettering. And over the year, I've always let myself not interfere with your self-space. And you speak of happiness or happy and fulfillment, and their words. The English language with words can be very, very limited, but yet can be very, very connecting. And so your talk today, to me, it's like, wow, because I really never had to go into your studio to find out. By letting you have your space, it was meant for me to be here today to hear your story, and we're in the same space, time, quantum, and it's just blowing me away because I have my story, but today it's your story.
Thank you. I'm glad to connect with you at that time. I remember that day when you were doing that week that you were doing your talk. Anybody else? Thank you.
I first want to say that you're also a mentor of mine, and for sure directed me down really valuable paths in terms of shifts of mindset at very key points when it was needed. And what I'm wondering is if you could take a moment and just project like 20 years in the future. I know you stay here. What would be like one of your wildest dreams 20 years from now?
To be here. That would be my wildest dream, to be here in 20 years and still do being an artist.
Amen.
Not because my art will fail, simply because mortality. You know, it's a subject I know well. That is a big dream of mine. I love, of course, I love my life of being an artist and creating art. And then on top of that, this big picture that I know about purpose. You know, to be here 14 years later from those dark days, and then in 2004, which was, 11 years ago, my heart stopped at dialysis. They had to boom, boom, and bring me back. Now, what I know about mortality from those moments like that, those direct moments of life or death, is that it's God's plan for me how many times I'll share my story, who I'll inspire. If God forbid, just today is the one moment He wanted me to get to for this group, I trust that. And with a true understanding of the mortality and a feeling of understanding of what that is, to be here in 20 years would be the wildest dream I could dream. Not showing in Prague, not being in New York. Those things might happen, they might not. I know what I want my life to be in 20 years. I want to be a studio artist like I am now. The last 7 years of my life have been the most successful years of my life as an artist and a human. As a human, because of what you heard about the purpose, and as an artist, because what I know happens is I want to play the big art world game. And if that, I'm so lucky to happen, for that to happen, my time will be taken up. I won't be in control of every minute of my life, other than the dialysis moments, in that studio to sit around, to watch TV, to create art like a madman, to all the things that I've been allowed to do to find this freedom and truth and center and balance. That will go away. I'll be obligated or committed. And that will not be my greatest success. It will certainly look like, it'll be measurable for other people, but I know my greatest success is the freedom I have in my studio to be in control of my every minute of my life. That is what I hope in 20 years also is happening, that freedom. And that will certainly be the choices I make. You know, do I want them? Do I want to give away my time? That's what it's always been about. Do I want to give away my time anymore or not? My time is for me. It's very valuable to me. It's more valuable than anything. And that wildest dream is to know all you people 20 years from now as we evolve. Anybody else? Oh.
Hey Alex, thanks for talking. You had some great messages in your talk, but I'm kind of, I'm looking at your art and, thinking back to some of your previous art, like the first piece you did, which is Hogwarts. And that piece was actually very positive, very, very up, you know, peace, love. But especially with this new series you have, the language seems to get kind of more disjointed and chaotic and confusing. Is that more kind of you reflecting back on your past experience? Because it doesn't seem
What
to be a
creates the
reflection
chaos,
of where
you
you
mean?
are now.
What creates the chaos of the way I lay the messages down?
Yeah, well, example for this piece, you know, back here, you know, meant to be what? And I don't think, you know, the message you have is you know what you're meant to be.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Take, for example, this canvas that says meant to be. We've all heard that phrase, meant to be. We've heard it with many subjects, right? From love to cars to I got the bill money. Okay, meant to be. So these canvases, this new series I create is called the Radiant Collection. It's based off the influence of Jean-Michel Basquiat. Now, I painted for 19 years, and I painted pretty pictures in the beginning, and then I started getting a voice. And as I developed this voice, over 19 years of creating and finding the truth of who I am as a human, and knowing that I don't have to practice that. I don't have to practice right or wrong. My messages are either a view of mine or a question of mine. So meant to be, I'm asking, what does that mean really? Meant to be. And so each painting I've made of this series is like, it's like a journal page. It has a subject matter. It has my views about this subject matter. It has questions to you about this subject matter. And my work is based mostly on the social experiment that's happening with all us humans. And that's what this series is mainly about. And as I've created a series since about June, the big canvases started in October, I realized that these are the canvases that people are going to look to when they really want to know who exactly I was. And so the messages as they come randomly are my random thoughts in that moment. There's been thoughts that I've dropped on these canvases that didn't stay. But the ones that I really had in that moment, those are the ones that make it to the front, through the layering. And because they're random, the confidence is, for 19 years, I learned how to get to that randomness, to that confidence of saying this, and then saying this, and saying this, and letting you connect all that. I know how it's connected, like you said. But the random questions I drop, or the random sayings or words, are simply in moments where I've thought about something that's come through my head. And that's why they're so scattered and jumbled, because I want them to be, I really want them to be my journal pieces. I've tried to journal over a lot of years. There's 5 years in between journalings, there's drunk journalings, there's... So what I've come to find out is I'm not a writer. I'm an artist. But I do have a message, and that message is going to come through my language of an artist on my canvas now, not writings or memoirs or anything like that. And that's why the randomness of the new collection, Tom. It's just every thought that comes to me, I'm putting down on the canvas. Anyone else? I want to thank CreativeMornings. I want to thank all the sponsors. And I especially want to thank you guys for coming to take the time out of your life to get to know me a little more. Now we will have a little more to talk about when we're one-on-one. And always feel free to come to my studio when my door is open and ask me, or just look at my art, or ask me to share with you something. Thank you very much.